What's up, and welcome back to another episode of Across the Diamond, brought to you by Diamond Prospect Media. I'm Central Florida Area Scout Kennedy Hales, and joining us as always, West Florida Area Scout, Mr. Jet Rosenstein, and our National Scouting Director, Mr. Mike Merritt. How are we doing today, guys?
It's good.
Great. How you doing?
Another day, man. Can't complain. All right, let's get right into it with our recaps. Mike, you went down south to see Stoneman Douglas take on Westminster. How was the game, man?
Well, I know we really kind of hyped this one up last week, especially some of the firepower on the other side of the Eagles. But Kennedy, I'll tell you, this one was over in a 12-0 Mercy winner in 5 innings. Business as usual, it seems like, for this Stoneman Douglas team. Christian Rodriguez, who we've talked about before, running his fastball up to 95, tossing 4 scoreless innings, striking out 5. So nothing that we haven't seen from a pitching standpoint. And we'll we'll touch on him again later in this podcast. And you know what, Kennedy? It's one of those things where it just continues to happen. Roman Anthony had 2 home runs in this game, and one of them went over both batting cages in right field. So this thing was an absolute rocket off his bat. Did it later on in the game for another one. So there's just the firepower he brings to that lineup. Anybody that's on base or whatever he can do to drive in the runs, he just does it. So we'll touch on him again, but I mean, wow, what he's been bringing to the table offensively and what he's been doing in front of a lot of decision makers, if you will, has been nothing short of, I would say, just outstanding. Just really has elevated his stock. Nico Benestad, an uncommitted catcher, delivered a double as well. And then Jake Clemente, who we've highlighted on the mound before, he doubled twice as well. So the offense was really clicking throughout the whole game. They hung 12 on him, obviously, very early on. And that was really it. I mean, there wasn't really much to talk about on the other side. When you're mercying a team like that and you're just driving in run after run, it's just tough to compete up with. So business as usual for this Stoneman Douglas team. Just one of the top teams in the state and in the nation, and we're gonna touch on them a little bit earlier when we talk about the NHSI a little bit.
Sure, looking forward to that. And Jet, you got to see undefeated Berkeley Prep take on Ignatius. How was that?
Yeah, it was another great game that I got to see. Unfortunately for St. Ignatius, who was on their spring break coming down from Ohio to Florida, wasn't really a pleasant way to spend their Thursday night at the ballpark. But besides the fact, it was a great game all around. To start the game, there was very little offense as both starting pitchers, 2022 right-handed pitcher JT Quinn and an Ole Miss commit we're going to talk about a little bit more later was going up against Ohio State commit 2024 right-handed pitcher Sawyer Solitaria. For the first couple of innings, both guys were really commanding the strike zone, were really throwing strikes. Quinn, however, did have a few issues with command early on, but as the game went on, he really settled down and was able to get back to what he's been doing all season long. And then as we got to the third inning, that's when the offense for Berkeley Prep really started to show what we've been seeing all year. To lead things off, 2022 middle infielder Cade Curlin, University of Florida commit. He really showed off his power to the opposite field with a solo blast. Huge momentum swing for this team because it was the start of a inning and rest of the game that the Bucks offense never looked back. Later in that inning, 2022 utility man Owen McElfatrick, Northwestern University commit. He sent the home run of his own over the left center field wall. At that point, the Bucks lead was up to 3. And then a few batters later, 2023 first baseman and outfielder James Hankerson, who was a Wake Forest commit, he joined in on the fun with a bomb of his own over the center field wall. So at that point, it was already a 6-0 lead for the Bucks. And after JT Quinn came out of the inning in the fourth, unfortunately, he couldn't get much farther just because his pitch count started to rise, even though he was dominating towards the tail end of his start. The next pitcher to enter into this game was 2025 left-handed pitcher and outfielder Rivers Curlin, who I actually wrote about in my article on Diamond Prospect Media as an underclassman to keep an eye on in the near future. Really impressed by his breaking stuff. kept hitters off balance, really commanding the zone with this fastball. The velocity is going to, improve with time and is going to fill into his own body as he continues to ascend through his high school career, but really loved what I saw from him. He shut the door in the 7th inning, and the final score for this game was 9-0. Berkeley Prep, their undefeated season continues on.
Well, I'm sure we'll definitely be keeping up to date with that and seeing how basically keep the streak alive. Hey, let's see it.
Yeah.
On a little bit of Central Florida action, I got to see Lake Mary take on Hagerty High School. It was a pretty neck-and-neck game, even though it was 0-0, but still. Both teams were led by their pitchers and their defenses as well. For Lake Mary, Andy Perez really shined in the infield, clean, smooth actions, accurate throws to first. Nicholas Gioa, I feel like every time we see this kid, he's catching somebody at second or third, and we're getting video of it. He was also helping his team out as well. For the Huskies, Talon Bell definitely helping his team out, running his fastball up to 87 on the mound. One of the best two-ways in the state, I would say. Along with that as well, Mr. Cam King, rangy defender in the outfield. As soon as you thought like, oh, that's going to be an extra base hit, he just runs that ball down and gets it. Beautiful athleticism, just great player overall. As we got into the 5th inning, the Hagerty Huskies had 3 straight batters bunting in, and it got capped off by 2022 Dylan Strickland, getting the first run in and the only run of the game. Wow. In the 7th inning, Daniel Beldowitz, 2023 right-handed pitcher, came in to secure the victory, and the Hagerty Huskies won 1-0. Nothing else really to say, man, but beautiful defense this game. Like, that's all I can say. The score really didn't show it, but good God, it was something to see. Rounding us out, you got to see Lakeland Christian take on Avon Park. How was it?
Yeah, so the starter for Lakeland Christian, and we'll kind of touch on him a little bit later, Mac Estrada, actually an uncommitted 23 who ran his fastball up to 93 and really kind of got stronger as his outing went along. So he's going to be generating a bunch of interest, as you would imagine. So I'll kind of expand on him a little bit down the way. But who I really thought threw well for them was after Matt came out was Kyle Mueller, 2022 right-hand pitcher who's committed to Presbyterian. And he mostly worked at 84, 87, touched an 88. But what was really impressive was his fastball consistently was at 2,600 plus RPM. A lot of swings and misses. So it looked like it, maybe was coming in a little bit less than obviously the previous, arm on the mound at 93. But it looked like it was coming in fast. And you can just see the way that the ball's spinning. And he has a long, lean frame anyway. So I would expect him to add a few ticks to his fastball. And with a fastball that really does that, commanding it low in the zone as well. So when he wasn't generating swings and misses, there's some weak contact, especially to the right side of the infield. So once he came in, Avon Park really didn't have any answers on that side. For the Lakeland Christian side offensively, Ben McDonald homered, so that's a name we need to kind of keep an eye on. And Zach Lester out of the top of the order, middle infielder who we've seen before, actually went 2 for 4 with an RBI. And then 2022 catcher Brody Dene, who we've highlighted before as an MLB draft prospect to follow. Seen him on the O Stingers a bunch of times. He delivered a sac fly as well, so got a good swing on it. Didn't get all of it, but was deep enough to drive it way into left field and score the runner from third. So a lot of different things going on with this Lakeland Christian team, especially Mac, who's going to be someone that is going to be very much followed here, especially as the tail end of the season goes along and we enter the start of the summer. So
might pop up on a future MLB draft pod as well. Who knows? All right. And another quick shout out, as we always do with these episodes, June 15th. Attention all 2023 to 2026 grads. We will be running the Central Florida Diamond Prospect Media Showcase. You will, of course, get your DPM swag, a nice dry-fitted shirt. We will go through a pro-style workout and bullpen. The videos will feature verified stats, and it will be yours to keep. Once you pay, it is yours. It will also be posted to our YouTube as well. And we'll be providing constant highlights throughout the day as well. Yeah. So please sign up. Can't wait to see you guys there. All right, and looking ahead a little bit, Mike, me and you are going to be seeing Lake Mary taking on Lake Brantley. Excited for that one.
Yeah, from what I've seen, obviously we've had the chance to have a lot of coverage on Lake Mary, and you kind of touched on a few ones earlier. Andy Perez. I'm really interested to see Andrew Merchant too, 2023 outfielder, uncommitted, who looks like he just gets a base hit every time we're around. One of the higher averages on the team, so he's someone I'm really going to be keying in on. Zachary Orloff looked like he's had some good outings from a relief standpoint, so he's another one that I'm sure we're going to be kind of touching base on as well. But I know we haven't seen them in several weeks, but who are a couple guys that you're going to be kind of looking at from Lake Brantley, Kennedy?
I mean, Lake Brantley just has a ton of quality bats, man. Obviously, we're going to look at Luke Heyman. We're going to talk about him from a draft perspective as well in future episodes, I'm sure.
Yep.
Michael Kalinick as well, the ECU commit, can really swing it from the left-hand side, a sweet swing. Connor Fosnow, the Northwest Florida State commit, and Mr. Landon Moran as well. I'm looking forward to all of them. I mean, these guys can just run up the score in a hurry, man. I'm excited to see them out there. And NHSI begins this week as well, Mike. You want to elaborate a little on that?
Yeah, so this is one of, well, I would say the best high school tournament in the country. It happens usually every year. Unfortunately, last year with everything that was going on with COVID, they had to kind of take it to the side. But it returns this year, starts on Wednesday. So the guys over at USA Baseball, they do a tremendous job of running this event. Baseball America does a great job of covering it. So I would very much encourage anyone to kind of go check out some of the stuff they have on it. They have a bunch of different pods that are actually describing each of the teams. So I'm going to run through a few of them here, but these guys will kind of give it a little bit more in detail. And there's quite a few schools that we recognize on here that'll be playing in it. So just running down the list, we'll start with them because we've already talked about them. Naturally, Stoneman Douglas will be making an appearance up there. They'll be bringing their bats, their arms, and plenty of juice up to Cary, North Carolina. So we expect them to do pretty well and try to advance along into the tournament. Like I said, this is one of the top ones you can expect. Dozens of pro scouts to be at this event, filled with different draft prospects all throughout the country. So this is quite an event to be at. The First Academy, who we've had the chance to see, especially in your neck of the woods, Kennedy. Obviously, they won a state championship last year. Ben Barrett, Isaac Sewell, really kind of controlling the top end of that rotation. And we know that Greg Pate can really get it going from the offensive perspective. Ben Barrett can swing it a little bit too. So we know he's kind of a dual threat in that aspect. Another one, Regis Jesuit from Colorado. Really one of the well-known powerhouse programs out west. I had the opportunity to see them a couple times a few years ago, and it's all you could ever hear about in that Colorado area was, oh, he goes to Regis Jesuit, or, hey, Regis Jesuit is in the state final. Nothing but just very high remarks for this school, and they actually have a player by the name of Dallas Messias who almost batted 500 throughout the entire year last year. Oregon State commit. You can pretty much guarantee that he's going to be getting a lot of looks from a pro scout perspective at this event. So one of those to really keep an eye on. Now this one is unbelievable, and it seems like every year a California team wins it, or over the past 10 or 12 years they've always been involved. Now, granted, this didn't happen last year, so it's a little bit of maybe a bump in the middle, but Orange Lutheran is going for their 4th NHSI championship in a row. And that really is all you need to know about this high school. They are one of the best from Cali and, quite frankly, in the country. They come into this tournament and they pretty much make it all the way and win it, and they have for the last several years in a row. So filled with a lot of obviously different prospects, but one of the ones that we're really kind of going to keep an eye on is Mikey Romero, who's a left-handed hitting infielder committed to LSU. Sounds like he's batting 400 clip on the season, and there's a lot to like there from a draft perspective. So that's another one to keep on the list. Buford High School, and I bring their name up because they have Dylan Lesko, right-handed pitcher, committed to Verabel, one of the top arms in the country, has been highlighted, throughout the year, throughout last year. Whenever there's a Dylan Lesko start, you better be at it because you have a chance to see something special. And that's the kind of arm he is. So he brings a lot of firepower to an event like this. And then finally, another one that we kind of have some experience in is St. John's Country Day, which is from North Florida. They got Brad Hodges and Jordan Taylor. So those are a pair of prospects that are going to come up from the Sunshine State that I'm sure will show well at this event. So as you can see, there's a lot of different aspects of this NHSI. I only gave a little bit of a snippet of it. Like I said, it's a really, really great event, and those guys over at USA Baseball and Baseball America do a great job of putting it on.
Definitely looking forward to more updates from it. Hey, let's get a Florida team to win it this year. Come on, man. Bring it home.
Come on. Let's go.
All right, and Jake, you're going to be going to see Sickles this week as well, man.
Yeah, I'm really excited to take a look at Sickles for the first time this season, and what a season it's been for them so far. 14-2 at the top of 6A District 6. A lot of guys that I'm really excited to take a closer look at. The first one being 2023 uncommitted pitcher infielder Caden McDonald. He's been at the center of all this team's success. In actually his first year as a starter as a junior, he's hitting 705. Yes, I said that correctly. 705 in 44 at bats, 27 RBIs, and 5 home runs. And then on top of that, he's also doing it on the mound, a 1.69 ERA in 29 innings pitched and 31 strikeouts. I expect him from that uncommitted label to change very shortly as more and more people are going to start to know his name and get a closer look at him. But some other guys I'm excited to look at: 2024 third baseman, right-handed pitcher, and Louisville commit Thomas Bly. He's hitting 462 with 21 RBIs and 2 home runs. Another two-way guy. He's has a 1.88 ERA in 18 innings pitched and 22 strikeouts. And then a few other names, just briefly: 2023 outfielder, first baseman Hayden Yost, who's a UF commit, and 2023 utility Connor Vance, and then 2022 uncommitted left-handed pitcher and outfielder Kyle Timko, who has a 1.67 ERA. So I will be attending the game against Robinson this coming Thursday, who's 9-4. But prior to that, on Tuesday, they have a game against Lido, who's 8-4. So it should be a fun week of baseball for Sickles, and I'm excited to get a little bit of taste of it later this week.
All right, and Mike, you're writing us out with some Westminster Academy coverage as well down south.
Yeah, definitely. Well, he may not be hitting 700 on the year. Robert Nedry on Westminster Academy. We've highlighted him before for his slick defending up the middle, but he is batting .490 on the season and has an OPS of 1.042. That's his on-base percentage plus his slugging. So anything that you're going over the the number of 1 on for a combined average like that is pretty ridiculous. He's not only delivering, but he's delivering in extra base hits, RBIs, and he's making it happen really in the heart of that lineup. Great swing from the left side. So he's going to be one that we're going to be really kind of eyeing in on the rest of the spring here. Uncommitted 2023 left-handed middle infielder. So that's always going to be a draw. And then obviously we've seen Julian Irizarry a few times already this season. Really like him out of the top of the lineup. Obviously, we love those left-handed bats, it sounds like. But when they can really make an impact like he does out of the leadoff spot, it gets the offense going, if you will. So really looking to watch both of those guys, probably some of the best uncommitted players they have on that team. So really looking to see what else are they going to do to bring their team along.
For sure, man. And definitely make sure to follow our Twitter to keep up with all these highlights and updates from this coverage this week. And keep up with our YouTube as well. Not only are we updating the high school season coverage playlist, but also our draft playlist for the 2022 and 2023 draft as well. Make sure to take a look after this video, of course. And a nice little segue. We're going to get into some MLB draft coverage now. Starting out for the man. At this point, he should have a credit in the podcast. We've mentioned him week after week. The guy just keeps showing up, man. It's Roman Anthony.
Wow, Kennedy. Jet, it is just quite a sight to see. I'll tell you, man. It is everything you would imagine from the left side of the plate offensively. It seems every other game we're at that he's just launching one way over the wall. Like I said before in a couple earlier podcasts, he's gotten that nickname of kind of a baby Christian Yelich. And, you know, the more you hear that comp, the more you're just like, wow. I mean, this is really what he has the chance to project out to be. I mean, the swing is great from the left side, obviously, but when he's not hitting it over the wall, he's driving into the gaps, he's bringing in the runs, and he flies out of the box, and he takes hard turns around the base pass. He's always looking to extend the at bat, get his pitch to hit. Obviously, that speed translates on the base pass and defensively in the outfield as a center fielder. So there's just a ton to like out of this kid, and the more that he keeps doing this in front of the pro scouts that are at these games, come the draft here in a couple months here, I mean, he's just a kid that just keeps elevating his stock, and you'd think he will stop, but just when you think he's done enough, he goes and hits 2 home runs in another game, and one I'm not really sure has landed yet.
And next man up is Mr. JT Quinn.
Yeah, so I got to get a look at him for the first time when I went to that game versus St. Ignatius last week. And like I mentioned before, I mean, he was struggling a little bit early on with command, but overall, it was a very solid outing from Quinn. He pounded the strike zone. He was hitting on his fastball between 89 and 92. And from what I've heard, he's really, he's hit 93 as a top speed before, just wasn't in this game. But like I said, he was dominant as ever. He has a very lean and long frame with plenty of room to fill out. Obviously, he's the Ole Miss commit, and there's a lot to like from him from a pure makeup perspective and as well as pure stuff. The breaking stuff was working as well. While he wasn't able to fully, show what he's done in games past, there was a lot to like from Quinn in this one.
Of course, and rounding us out is Cade Kurland.
Yeah, Cade is another guy that I was really excited to take a look at, and he definitely impressed in this game against St. Ignatius, and he's impressed all throughout the season. Just coming into this game, he was hitting 442 with 7 home runs and 19 RBIs. Wow. Obviously, he is the University of Florida commit, and just looking at this team, he is the leader. One of the leaders of this team. He never disappoints anytime he takes the field. And obviously in this game that I went to, he was the tone setter with that 3rd inning home run that he took the other way. And it seemed his approach in all of his at-bats was to focus on the opposite field, and he does a very good job of it. He had a few nice hits the other way, and it's definitely something that he emphasizes each and every time he gets to the plate. And then another thing, he's not just an offensive playmaker. Defensively, he was making plays to his left. He was making plays to his right. He was making plays all around at shortstop. Really like that. Very athletic frame, quick hands, and a great approach at the plate. This is only the beginning of what we're going to hear from Cade Kurland.
For sure. And taking us home on this pod, another edition of Mike Slikes. Mike, first man up is Mr. Brody Pezza.
Yeah, wow. And all 3 of the guys we're gonna talk about here are uncommitted, and it just seems like there are quite a few hitters throughout this state of Florida that are really mashing. Saw him earlier last week, went 3 for 4 on the night, and raised his batting average to 459 on the year. So he gets to going on to the top of the order. It seems like these leadoff guys on some of these squads can really kind of get the offense rolling, give it a little bit of juice, especially when it's your job to get on base and help the rest of your guys drive you in. I mean, that's really what you want out of that spot. Loose, quick hands through the zone, stays very balanced throughout his swing, drove a ball to right field, drove a ball to left field. So it's not like he's just sitting up there waiting for his exact pitch. He's driving the ball where it's supposed to go and getting on base. And then he's an above average runner as it is. So he's able to create some kind of havoc on the base pass as well. Steals plenty of bags, takes a really smart bat out of the leadoff spot. So there's just a lot to like from that perspective. And he's going to be a 2023 here, uncommitted, possibly going into the summer season. He has an athletic frame. He's going to continue to add physicality. He just hits. He just gets hits.
All right, next up is another player we've previously highlighted, Mr. Mac Estrada.
Yeah, Mac, and we talked about him at the earliest of this podcast here. running his fastball up to 20 or 93 as a 2023 uncommitted. So, as you would imagine, there was quite a lot of different kind of beacons going off as soon as that kind of got out there. So, started off a little bit on the I wouldn't say wild side, but he was kind of yanking the ball out of his zone a little bit. Was pretty much 87 to 90 the first inning. But whatever he kind of made adjustment wise after the first inning came out, I would say, Kennedy, almost a different pitcher. 90, 92 the rest of the way, touched 93 a couple times, generating a lot of swings and misses. The slider was working at 77 to 79. And then you also had a curveball that he occasionally threw. But really the slider was the one that was impressive, 2,500 plus RPM. Also on the fastball, up to 2456 RPM. So as he really made those adjustments and came out stronger, you could see it not only in the pitches, but the way he was throwing them too, the way it was kind of coming over the plate and what he was really kind of working with. Tall, athletic frame, still a guy that has room to fill out. And there's a lot of upside with a quick arm. And well, here we are, Kennedy, another athletic guy. He's actually a starting tight end and D end as well. So, yes, if you go on his Twitter, he's got some great football highlights up there. So, obviously, we was running his fastball up to 93. We know that we see a lot of different athletes, but that really kind of stepped him up in that territory. So, just very athletic. We've seen a lot of arms do that this season.
A pitcher that is doing work in the trenches on the gridiron. That is something that is just scary to hear. My goodness.
Yes.
All right, and rounding us out, Mr. Skyler Stinson out of Apopka High School.
Yeah, Skyler tossed a gem earlier this week. Complete game shutout in their 7-0 win. Scattered 3 hits, and while he only struck out 4, everything was really hit weakly, ground ball, pop fly, some of these swings that the batters were putting on against him really were off balance and inducing weak contact for sure. He's featured a fastball up to 89 previously before, and those fastballs are pretty much in the 2,400, 2,500 RPM range, so he can spin it from that point of view. But really what was working for him was that curveball slider combo. And those were at 2,600 plus RPM. So really, really was generating a lot of swing and misses with though, especially with 2 strikes, getting his strikeouts on that count, or at least having the batter fight it off, ground it weakly into the infield for an easy play for, the second baseman or first baseman to pick up the ball and go tag the bag. So he's another one that has a really lean frame. Obviously, as he becomes more physical, you're going to see that translation from a velocity standpoint. But I think the biggest thing about Skyler is, while he's only run his fastball up to 89 before, he throws strikes, and he throws strikes with all his pitches. So once he gets that next step, it's really, really going to be a full arsenal of what he brings to the table. So another one we're going to really keep our eye on here, especially as an uncommitted 23 right-handed pitcher. And I think he's really poised for a big summer as well.
All right, and that'll do it for this episode, guys. As always, thanks for coming on.
Thank
man. You.
No problem. To everyone at home, be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications when we post another video as well.